Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tronage, and today we're going to be talking about what to do if you got your quad box for October 2020 with this Lynchpin drone in there and you ain't got no idea what to do with this. Well, I'm going to help you out, so stick around. In the quad box for 2020, there was this really mysterious item. It's called like the Lynchpin, and I really didn't know what to make out of it. And if you missed my unboxing of the October 2020 quad box, you can check the link up in that corner there. But you'll see when I first go to put this together, or at least just tinkering with it, because that's kind of what this is like. It's sort of like Tinker Toys, where you have the sticks and the blocks, and you put the sticks in the blocks, and you kind of build things as a kid. Well, that's kind of what this is. It was just a bunch of sticks and a bunch of connectors. And I didn't really know what to do with it or what to make out with it. There was no instructions, no anything, and they refer you to going to a website. So under a little bit more investigation, it turns out that this is sort of like what we have here, I think, is really more of just something cool to raise awareness of the thing itself. Because this is really, you're just gonna build a structure that can't really do anything. There's no flight controller that can control this to start with. In fact, they're running a contest on their website to find engineers to build the flight controllers that can control this, because the concept is that it's sort of like a three-dimensional roundy kind of structure that can change orientation in any way while staying put in spot, and then be able to move in any direction regardless of which way it's oriented. So it seems like a really awesome thing to try to learn to fly, but there's really not anything to control it yet, so you really can't fly it. So this is more just, I think, a fun project to raise awareness of its existence, and it's, you know, perhaps this will be the future, and this is like the very first prototypes that we're all holding in our hands to, you know, inspire those that will come after us and, you know, who take the hobby to that next level. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring you all up in close so we can actually look at this, and I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that I did, because when I first tried to, you know, just sticking a rod into a connector, it didn't work. So I'll show you what I did to sort of remedy that, and then we'll go over how to physically build this into the actual structure so that you, if you have it at home, you can do this as well. It's not that difficult. So why don't you come on in and I'll show you how it's done. All right, guys, so here's what you get in your little Lynchpin kit. You get basically a whole bunch of carbon rods, and you get some connectors. You get 4 connectors that have 4 openings, and then you have a whole bunch of other connectors that have just 2 openings. And the problem that I had when I first opened this box up and started playing with it was that I said, oh, well, I guess I just stick a rod into the hole, and I couldn't get it started. I couldn't get it to go in. I couldn't even get it to start. But now you can see I can easily get that started, and that's the key thing here, because you need to be able to get these rods into these connectors. The problem was that these rods are just cut off, so they're a very sharp point edge from this surface to this surface. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'll put up a little close-up picture of what I'm talking about. What I did is I put a little chamfer, camfer, bevel, whatever, however you want to pronounce it and whatever you want to call it, so that the rod would insert easier into these openings. So that is a difficult thing to do, but that's the route I chose to do, and I'll tell you how to go about doing that if that's the way you wish. The other option you could do, which I did not do, would be to widen the hole of the connector slightly at the top so that the rod would easily kind of center itself and get down into there. Now, I'll tell you why I opted for the way I did it, was that I don't want to screw around with these connectors too much, because if you make these too loose, you drill your hole too deep, you mess something up, you may end up with a problem with the connector. I figured by beveling the edge of these rods, it may have been the harder, more labor-intensive path. However, I knew that it wouldn't mess with the structure of the thing. Now, if you wanted to drill these out, really all you do is get yourself a drill bit, one that's bigger than this hole, put it in your drill, and just kind of like drill just the touch of, you don't want to drill the hole all the way through, just kind of so you're taking off just the surface, so you end up with more like a funnel shape that goes then into the channel that the rod will sit in. And I chose not to do that. The way I went to do it instead is putting that bevel on here. So here's the trick. First of all, number one, safety. Whenever you file or cut carbon fiber, please do it underwater. It's the easiest way to do it because you do not want to breathe in carbon fiber dust. It's terrible. So do it underwater. That's the safest and easiest way. The second thing you're going to need is you're going to need yourself a set of diamond files. You need diamond files to be able to file on carbon fiber. So this is what a diamond file looks like. And it looks like it has like basically sandpaper, but it's very sparkly on it. And that's, you know, the diamond chips or whatever that are on it that allow it to do the filing. It cannot be just a normal file. You need diamond files to be able to handle carbon fiber. Now, the two options you have are, and this is how I started. You go underwater and you file with your file on it like this while turning your rod. So you just keep filing and turning and filing and turning and filing and turning, and eventually you'll put a little bevel on that edge. Then you flip it over and you do the same thing. And I started off doing that, and that started taking quite a long time and sitting with my hands underwater in my bathroom sink. It was not a fun procedure. So I started to think of ways to optimize it. And then I decided what to do is I got myself my drill and I took the carbon rods, I loaded them into the drill as if they were a drill bit like that, and then went underwater. Remember, we never do this above in air because you do not want to breathe carbon fiber dust. This is pretend underwater. And then I took my file, and while running the drill like that, I then took my file and just held it on the edge so that I would file, you know, this is spinning, so it takes very little effort, and it went very quickly to then put that little beveled edge on there. So to give you an idea, once I switched to doing the drill, it took about a half an hour to do both ends of all of the sticks that you see here. So if you're going to do it by hand, anticipate it probably, I would say, taking almost twice as long. You'd probably be sitting there filing for about an hour. It took me about a half an hour to do all of these with the drill. But now they are all done and filed, and we will begin assembling. So what I think is going to be the easiest thing to do is to start in the center and create that like structure, and then complete the different pentagon around it. So the way you're going to start here is I'm going to put a connector on each one of these sticks. So we'll just do that same thing. We'll just repeat that process here. Put another one on. Actually, there's 5. I just realized I had one off on camera. So there's 5 connectors with the 4 holes, just as a reference. Okay, put this one on as far as that goes. And the last one. Doesn't matter which hole, they're all the same. And you're just pushing it on and pushing it down as far as it goes, okay? Now, all of these 4 ones that we've now created are all gonna go into this one middle hub, essentially. So the first one's gonna be kind of easy because you can just push on it. Okay, there we go. Now you might have to do some twisting to do some adjusting to make sure everything lines up so that, you know, this hole lines up with this hole, because eventually we will have a pentagon comes, you know, out, over, down, and then back again. So you want to make sure that when you do them, the holes are lined up across each other. And if it's a little off, it's okay because you can just twist. It's easy enough. So we'll continue on adding these to the center hub and just use some brute strength and push it in. And then line up your holes so that they are across again. And you can see how easy these now pop in because I put that little bevel on the rods. If I didn't have that bevel on there, I'd be struggling to get each of these rods into these connectors. So we got this cool structure, and we're going to build pentagons on all the sides of it. So now from this point, really you can now add more rods to these, all of these, because at this point, once you have this structure, this is sort of like you can't screw it up from this point, because this was the hardest thing to just, as long as you get this set up this way, the rest of it all just sort of falls into play no matter really how you do it. So you can just start sticking rods in however you want into all the different holes. So it's a lot easier on your hands. Instead of trying to push on this, is to get one of the connectors and put it on too, and then you can kind of push together like this, because otherwise you're gonna hurt your hands. Your hands are not gonna be happy with you, because you're basically trying to stab a carbon rod into your hand. So with the connector on there, it makes it a lot more comfortable. So we'll just continue around here and build this one pentagon. Once you kind of get the structure set up, then you can kind of just make sure all your connections are just pushed in all the way, so everything's nice and tight. And you can see this is when you want to make sure, if you didn't have all your holes lined up, you'd have a little bit of a problem. So we got one pentagon done, and now we'll continue on to another one. So now you see here, I'm starting to like kind of, not everything's lined up. That's why you can just give it a little twist, and give this a little twist, and just get everything lined up, and then you can put your next piece in and then squish it all together and make sure everything's nice and tight. I can tell you though, building this, I'm very happy that I put that little bevel on the rods, because this is already beating up my hands shoving these things in here. I can't imagine doing this without having that bevel on these rods. There you go. This crazy little contraption. Kind of beautiful. And someday we can maybe be flying this contraption around, which would be insane. All right, so let's talk about this and I'll give you my thoughts. And there you go. You have your Lynchpin fully built, fully assembled. And I have to say, holding this in the hand, it is really kind of cool. I mean, it's like nothing in our hobby currently that I'm at least aware of. And if this comes to fruition and there's actually like a build out where you can put like flight controller and motors and stuff onto this and freaking be able to fly this would be pretty sick. I mean, to just think about, like, instead of flying a conventional, what you have now, to be able to fly something like this in, I mean, we're already flying in three-dimensional space, but like, I don't know, there's just something about this to be able to, you know, because if you look over their rules of their contest, and the contest has a pretty hefty prize. If you win the contest, it's like a $15,000 prize with a runner-up of $10,000. So, you know, hey, if you're an engineer and building flight controllers, go check it out, because there's some money to be made here. But it's got several rules, and one of them is that it can stay in place and be able to change orientation, you know, while it's sitting in place. So you can have it, you know, controlling it somehow to make it change whatever orientation it is in, and then be able to fly in any direction regardless of orientation. So I don't even know, like, I don't know how you would even control that, even like the flight controller. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, because so I guess you could do like yaw, pitch, and roll, and thrust. I guess you'd it couldn't be, well, I don't really know. I'm very confused by this, because I guess you would have it be as like there would be a front, like it wouldn't necessarily be headless. So you would say, okay, this is, you know, this is front, and now I'm going to be flying this way. So I'd have the roll, the pitch, and the yaw. But then where would you put, I guess, because the camera would have to point forward if you're going to fly at FPV. I don't know. It kind of blows my mind, but I'll tell you, just having this thing sitting on the desk, or maybe I might even find, you know, some way to maybe put it back there just to, you know, be something to talk about, because this is freaking, I don't know. This very well could be the future where the hobby is going. And holding it in my hand right now, it's kind of like, I feel kind of privileged to be part of that, even though I did absolutely nothing besides open a box. Anyway, I hope it helped you out to figure out how to build this thing, how to put it together, and a couple little tips like, you know, putting a little bevel on these rods, or if you decide to go the other route and, you know, opening up the hole tiny bit so you can get the rods in easier. I hope it helped you out. Got it built up, and as always, my name's Tronage. Fly strong.